You special and she reckless. Baby, you're my bestest friend. Yeah, she my bestie. My love for you is endless. Nobody else can end it. And when I get the money back.
Hey y'all, what is up? Welcome back to my channel. Today, we're going to be seeing if there is a difference between the new ABH cream bronzer and the e.l.f. Putty bronzer. Now, I know the e.l.f. Putty bronzer has been around for, in the YouTube world, it's probably old now. I don't even know if anyone cares, but it's been around for a little bit now. And then the ABH cream bronzer is new. So when I saw these two, my instant thoughts was, okay, is there anything different? Are they similar? We need to test it out. So first here for the ABH cream bronzer, I am in the shade Hazelnut. All right, so I will give you a little swatch here of Hazelnut. That is Hazelnut. It's a beautiful shade. It's warm, which I was really concerned about because it was hard to tell online. Sometimes I feel the cream bronzers can be a little bit cooler in tone, so therefore ends up looking like a contour on me. So I was very pleased to see that this had some warmth to it. And then for the e.l.f. Putty bronzer, I am in the shade Sunkissed, and I'll give you a swatch of this one as well. So this is Sunkissed. Now the e.l.f. Putty bronzers are nowhere close to being as opaque as the ABH bronzer. Over here, this is the e.l.f. Putty bronzer, and then that is the ABH cream bronzer. Again, both of them are warmer. The ABH definitely, I believe, pulls a little bit deeper, but I just think because it's just a titch bit more opaque. And then just in case anyone else is wondering, this is the other shade in the e.l.f. Putty bronzer. This one is too deep for me. I'll give you a swatch just for reference. This one is in Beach Please. Yeah, Beach Please is really dark. That's good though. And then this is Beach Please. That definitely would be a contour on me. And even then, I think it would still be a little bit too deep, but it's good that they have options. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a little demo. We're going to put ABH on one side, e.l.f. Putty bronzer on one side, and we're going to look and see how does it blend out. Is it opaque? Is it easy to blend out? What's the difference? Do they look the same? I already know. I've been testing both of these out for about 2 weeks now, so of course I've got my thoughts. So let me go ahead and bring it on in. Now I do not have on any face makeup. The only thing I have on, I filled in my brows and I popped on a little bit of concealer up under my eyes. Now for the brushes of choice, we're going to be using the Real Techniques. This is the sculpting brush. You can see it's kind of got that angle, perfect for sculpting. My preference of choice is actually the stippling brush. However, I cannot find mine. I had about 4 of them. The last time I saw them, I had them in Charleston when I was working at my last competition. So I'm guessing they got lost somewhere in the mix. So we're gonna go ahead and start with the ABH cream bronzer. Now, for this, a little bit is gonna go a long way. You do not need a lot of this. So I'm just going to dip my brush in there, and then we're just going to go ahead and just stamp that on the face. Now you can see this is 1, dark, and 2, it is very opaque. So you do not at all need to go in with a lot. So I will just use this brush to kind of get it exactly where I want it, just depending on your face structure. Then I'm going to take a sponge. Now, if I had my stippling brush, I would just go ahead and stipple and blend it out, but I'm going to use my sponge, and I'm just going to go ahead and go over and blend this out. Now, I will say, with the ABH cream bronzer, it does take a little bit of work as far as blending it out. It's not difficult, but just know, go in with just a little bit, because the more you put on, the harder time you are going to have blending it out, especially if you are maybe a beginner or a novice. If you're not new to this makeup game, then you're good, not talking to you. But if you are someone who maybe struggles a little bit with cream products and blending them out, then, just take your time just a little bit. Now, the funny thing about this I feel when I look at it with my natural eye on my face, it looks very, very cool and toned. But when I look at myself in my viewfinder with my lighting on camera, it is popping off warmer. Maybe if I turn off my light. Yeah, because I feel like with my natural eye, this looks more so like a contour on me. But then, like I said, in camera, it's just popping off a little bit warmer. So again, other notes just to keep in mind. So if you're a shade twin, then you kind of have an idea. All right, so this is the ABH Cream Bronzer. Let's go ahead and put some on the forehead. So still working with the ABH here. I'm just gonna get just the tiniest amount. I'll put some on my forehead. Also keep in mind, I don't have any foundation on, so I can kind of go in a little bit harder with the blending because I don't have to worry about shifting any makeup. Okay, so that is the ABH Cream Bronzer. Now we're gonna move on to the e.l.f. Putty Bronzer. Switching my brush here. Now with this, you can go in as many times as you like because this is nowhere close to as being opaque as the ABH bronzer. So I will go ahead and put this on. You can see it's definitely not as opaque, and I swirled this around a lot. So now I'm just gonna go ahead and take my brush here, not my brush, my sponge, and I'm going to just blend this out. And I'm not being just super precise with the placement and everything. I'm just kind of slapping it on so that way you guys can actually see. I'm putting on way more than what I would typically put on, but I really want to make sure that you're able to see the shade and how it goes on and how it blends. So this is the e.l.f. Putty Bronzer. Now, if I want, I can go in with just a little bit more. Now, for me personally, I like products like this because I want to do the building myself. The thing is, when you start off with too much, it's hard to backtrack. If you put it on and it's not enough, you can build on it. So I feel for that, this makes this an easier product to work with because you can always build, but when you need to backtrack because you've gotten too much, that's when things can get tricky. So this is what the e.l.f. Cream Bronzer looks like, and I'll go ahead and put some of this at the top of my head as well. I also feel like this one is just a tish bit warmer as well. The ABH isn't, I wouldn't consider that cool tone at all, but I do think that this is, it just comes a little bit warmer. All right, so on this side here, we have our e.l.f. and then on this side over here, we have our ABH. Now, is there a huge difference? All right, so e.l.f. on this side, ABH on this side. What are your thoughts? Here are mine. Okay, so keep in mind, if you have a skin tone that is lighter or a little bit darker, or a different undertone than me, these are gonna pop off way differently on you. So keep that in mind. If you're a shade twin, basically we use the same foundation shades. This is gonna give you a good gauge of where we are at. I have a warm golden undertone. Now, opacity. The ABH is gonna give you the full-on shebang bang 100% immediately. If you are someone who maybe isn't comfortable working with cream products, or you just get a little bit intimidated, I don't know that I would recommend this one just simply because I do feel like you have to kind of have a little bit of a skill level just to be able to work and manipulate with this. I can see how this could go left real fast. Again, I'm not saying this is bad, but because it is so opaque, I can see it being a little bit tricky for someone who's maybe a beginner in makeup. I can see why this would be a little bit harder to work with. The e.l.f. Putty Bronzer is not opaque at all, so therefore you have a little bit more wiggle room. You can build it up and you can kind of see what direction you're going in. The ABH is going to take you there 95 miles per hour immediately. As far as the undertones for these, I feel like the undertones for them are very, very similar. Like, it's not a dramatic difference when you look at my face. I feel like you can't even really tell that I have a different product on. I do think that they are both warm. They do warm the skin, which is great because y'all know the Fenty cream bronzer here. This one on me looks more so like a contour. I feel the Fenty cream bronzer, when I put it on my face, it does pop off a little bit cooler, and in fact, that is how I use this. I use this more so as a cream contour instead of a bronzer. Now, blendability. e.l.f. Putty bronzer is going to be way more easier to blend. Like I said, you do have to build it up a little bit more, so keep that in mind. Next up, you clearly get way more product, okay? This has, what does it say? How much is in here? This is 30 grams, so 1 ounce, and I believe this was $32. And then the e.l.f. Putty bronzer is $6, and it has 10 grams. So you're gonna get more in this. Which one do I think you should get? This is what I would, okay, first, here's how I would use these. If I was going to be on camera, taking photos, special events, I would use this just simply because it's a little bit more opaque, right? When you're taking photos, you really want to make sure that you have, you know, just enough structure in the face. You're going to get that with this. Shouldn't even say structure, backup. You're gonna have enough warmth in the face because it is a bronzer. So if you really want it to pop a little bit because you're gonna be taking photos, I would go with this. But for everyday life, on a regular e.l.f. Putty bronzer, these to me are not dramatically different where I can say, oh yeah, you know, you definitely need to run out and go get this one. Do I think this is bad? I do not think it's bad. But for the sake of keeping it simple and keeping some money in your pocket, girl, go with the e.l.f. Putty bronzer. They are not dramatically different. It's $6, and honestly, it is easier to work with. So that's just my 2 cents. Down below, I wanna hear your thoughts. I wanna hear your comments. Do you think that these are dramatically different enough? Do you think that the ABH is better than the e.l.f., vice versa? I wanna know your thoughts. Y'all know the deal. Keep it simple, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.